Despite not having achieved any of Putin's objectives nearly a year after the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, he did not suggest any end to the war in Ukraine anytime soon. In his State of the Nation speech on Tuesday, February 21st, according to Putin, the West forced Russia to invade Ukraine despite its opposition to it. He then went on to address 1,500 leading figures in Russia's political and military elite, including both houses of parliament. According to Putin, as Friday's anniversary of the invasion approaches, Ukraine and its Western allies started the war, and that the operation will not be abandoned. Despite initial plans of capturing Kyiv in 3 days, the Russian military has suffered setbacks after setback over the past year. Russia has sustained huge losses in the war but is expected to launch a new offensive in the spring. Putin, however, did not give an indication of what to expect next. No foreign guests were invited to Putin's speech. Hostage of the West. Putin also accused Ukraine and the West of having planned to attack the Donbas region of Ukraine before the Russian invasion. They were the ones who started the war, Putin claimed, adding that Russia was using force in order to stop it, and that Moscow had done everything we could to resolve the Donbas problem peacefully. He also reverted to calling Ukraine's government a neo-Nazi regime. "We are not fighting against the Ukrainian people," Putin said. "They are the hostages of the Kyiv regime and its Western masters, who actually occupied this country in the political, military, and economic sense." He once again invoked his familiar narrative of an existential threat to Russia, claiming the West would intend to transform a local conflict into a phase of global confrontation. They also cannot fail to realize that it is impossible to defeat Russia on the battlefield. Therefore, they are conducting more and more aggressive information attacks against us, Putin said. "I want to emphasize that no country in the world has as many military bases abroad as the United States. There are hundreds of them around the world," Putin said. Referring to the growing Western military support for Kyiv, Putin issued a veiled threat, stating that the more long-range Western systems are being delivered to Ukraine, the farther we will be forced to move the threat from our borders. Spelling more bad news for global security, he announced that Russia will halt its participation in New START, the last major nuclear arms control agreement remaining between Russia and the United States. The U.S. State Department had already determined that Russia was not complying with the New START treaty, making the announcement at the end of January. Donbas and economic reconstruction. The one-hour speech was less angry and forceful in tone than his September address, when he announced a draft of hundreds of thousands of civilians, and he seemed more focused on preparing Russia's society and the military for tough times ahead. He also sought to offer some hope as he vowed to protect the people in the Donbas and promised support to the occupied territories of Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, and Crimea. "We have already begun and will continue to build up a large-scale program for the socio-economic recovery and development of these new subjects of the Federation, territory annexed from Ukraine," he said. "We are talking about reviving enterprises and jobs in the ports of the Sea of Azov, which has again become an inland sea of Russia, and building new modern roads, as we did in Crimea," he said, referring to the peninsula Russia invaded and annexed in 2014. "This land, which is ours, will become prosperous again," Putin declared, without specifying what those plans would specifically entail. He also announced the creation of a special state fund to provide personalized help to the families of dead fighters and the veterans of the special military operation. Sanctions impact on Russia's economy. Putin claimed that economic sanctions imposed by the West have not crippled Russia as intended. He said Russia's economic output had declined 2.1% last year and added that this number was far below the initial predictions of how much Western sanctions would harm the country's economy. They, Western countries, want to make the Russian people suffer, but their calculations did not materialize. The Russian economy and the management turned out to be much stronger than they thought, he declared. The figure he provided largely seems to be in the ballpark forecast by international financial institutions. According to the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, 2022 was a bad year for the Russian economy. It is estimated that in 2022, Russia's gross domestic product, GDP, dropped by at least 2.2% in the best-case scenario and by up to 3.9% in the worst-case scenario. Russia's GDP is forecast to decline by 5.6% in the worst-case scenario, OECD, or by 3.3% according to the World Bank. The IMF expects slight growth in 2023, 0.3%. India and China have become the largest buyers of Russian oil, for example, as Western countries have restricted purchases and imposed sanctions, a move that, according to Putin, was only hurting themselves. Those imposing sanctions are punishing themselves. They have caused price hikes, job losses, an energy crisis, and we hear them telling their own people that the Russians are to blame. Russia's economy and administrative system have turned out to be much more resilient than the West thought, he added. Without providing evidence, Putin said that many basic civilian sectors of the domestic economy not only have not shrunk but have actually increased production. He also lashed out at Russian businesspeople for using their profits for yachts, estates and elite real estate abroad, urging them to forget about whatever assets they may have lost to Western sanctions. None of the simple citizens of the country, believe me, was sorry for those who lost their capital in international banks. In what could be seen as a signal that Russia is serious about entering a new phase of self-reliance as it further cuts itself off from the West, Putin announced a series of domestic measures, from infrastructure plans and mortgage subsidies to changes in the country's education system. Thank you for taking the time to watch till the end. We hope that you found it informative and entertaining so far. If you're enjoying our content, we'd like to encourage you to take a few quick actions that can help support our channel and keep us motivated to create even more awesome videos for you. First, we'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback on this video. Did you learn something new? Did it make you think differently about a topic? Do you have any questions or suggestions for future videos? Please leave a comment below and let us know. We read all of our comments and try to respond to as many as we can. Next, if you haven't already done so, please consider giving this video a thumbs up and hitting the subscribe button. Subscribing to our channel is the best way to ensure that you never miss a new video from us. It also helps us to grow our audience and reach more people who can benefit from our content. Finally, be sure to click the notification bell icon so that you receive a notification every time we upload a new video. This will ensure that you never miss a new release, and that you're always up to date on the latest information and insights that we share. Your support means the world to us, and we can't wait to bring you more great content in the future.